do you want me to say?
Just testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testes.
Testes. What you thinking about, girl?
Yes. Alright, what's up, jammers? Baby, take forever.
Ready?
Yes, baby, I've been saying I've been ready.
Let's do it together.
Okay.
Ready?
What do you say? What's up, jammers?
What's up, jammers?
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. What's up, jammers? All right, so
welcome back to our YouTube channel.
Yes, exactly what Anita just said. Pretty much going to be talking a little bit about, how we met, pretty much our story, what we've been through. I mean, it's almost been 11 years, so we definitely have a lot of journey and a lot of story to share. Let's get this started.
Well, let's start by saying where we met.
Okay.
Well, we met through MySpace.
Yeah.
So shout out to MySpace.
Social media, hey.
I don't know, I think you just send me a friend request, right? Or something like that.
So we always have this battle as to who sent
She messaged
who,
me
what.
first.
I always say that it was her to me, but
I've never messaged a guy.
She's been consistent about it, so I guess we'll just give her that one.
We tried going back to her messages, but nothing is there anymore.
It's all gone. I was fooled, by the way, because on her...
Don't even start. Oh
on
my
her...
God.
On her profile picture, she had blue eyes. I was like, dang, girl.
Green. They were actually green.
No, they were blue.
They were green.
They were blue.
Babe, I have a picture of me.
No, you had two contacts. You had the blue ones and the green ones.
But
the one of the profile
the
picture
ones he
that
fell
I
in
saw
love with
were the blue ones. So long story short, once I met her, she did not have blue eyes.
We met when I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
And we just met through MySpace, so we've never seen each other in person. We didn't go to the same high school.
Mm-mm.
At the time, I think you were going to Mark Twain or San Diego High.
I was still in San Diego High.
Yeah, so he was in San Diego High, I was in Mission Bay, and that's how we were just talking through MySpace, basically.
Yeah. I mean, so she pretty much broke up with whoever it is that she was dating at the time, and me thinking this is my shot, this is what I've been waiting for, but no, she ended up starting dating another guy.
Loser! You're a loser! You big baby! Baby want a bottle? A big dirt bottle?
And again, I was just there being the best friend, being there for her, staying committed to the game.
Committed to the game. I was not a game. Long story short, he was in the friend zone for 2 years. He was just basically a really good friend of mine that I would talk to whenever
she needed somebody to
talk
to.
You think it sounds so bad, but it's true, yes.
Well, I mean, I lived it, so.
First time we met, an actual person, I think it was your soccer game, right?
No. So.
Oh, it was at a concert.
Yes, I was super shy. I mean, obviously, it was easy for me to kind of just message her and conversate with her on MySpace. Really, the first day that I saw her in person was at.
It was a concert.
It was the DJ Flex concert in Memorial Park.
Oh yeah.
It was at Memorial Park. She was there with a bunch of friends, and I just happened to pass by, and I saw her, and immediately I just got super shy, and I just
His
smiled at
crush
her.
Was there.
She smiled at me. I smiled back, and I just went about my way. So that was really the first time that I met her. Yeah, I was super scared.
Yeah.
We started dating a couple months after that.
I went to your soccer game. You invited me to your soccer game. You picked me up from my house. Yeah. We went to your soccer game.
I still remember what you were wearing.
I know.
You were wearing your purple vest, purple long sleeve shirt.
I think I have a picture of that. And my
green
contacts.
Green contacts. And
my
some
long
purple
black hair.
little muñequita shoes.
Yeah. They were purple?
Yeah,
oh yeah, I
purple.
did. They were the same color as mine.
So from there, I mean, I pretty much took it to my game. After my game was over, I already knew that we were going to start dating right after she pretty much went out on a date with me, per se.
So he asked me to be his girlfriend because his tío... So we were in the field, and he had just finished playing soccer, and we were just talking. And then his tío is, walking with his 2 dogs or something. And then he's, walking. And I remember he was like, do you want to be my girlfriend? And I was like, Sure.
I mean, keep in mind too, like we had already been talking for like 2 years, so I mean, it wasn't like
But that was the
unexpected.
first
Shorty
time.
knew that I wanted to date her. I mean, pretty much the whole setup of that day was for me to ask her out and for it to be official. So I mean, your story makes it really funny, but she pretty much says that I asked her out because my uncle was coming and I wanted to show her off to my uncle.
Yeah, because as soon as we saw his uncle coming, he was like, do you want to be my girlfriend? And I'm like, yeah. And then he gave me a kiss. And then, like, as soon as we turned around, his uncle was, like, already right next to us. And then he was like, oh, tío, le presento a mi novia. And I was like, at the time, we were very immature. I feel like we were, I don't know. I think I've always been a little bit more immature than he has. He's always been more mature. And I feel like that's because of what he's been through in his life. So he had to grow up a lot faster. So yeah, he's always been more mature and I've always been more immature. So I was just kind of super mean and...
Yeah, I mean, you know how typically like relationships start off being really sweet and very loving at the beginning, and then as time progresses, it kind of dies down. For us, it's been the complete opposite. For us, it's been we went through hell, like the first 2 years of our relationship.
Yeah, our relationship was like super toxic at first.
Really toxic.
Yeah, like super toxic. I remember like we would be constantly fighting like every single day. It was like we would disrespect each other. We would like cuss at each other. We would say all these really bad things to each other. It was just unhealthy. Yeah, we would break up like every single day. I kid you not. Like we would break up and then we were like back together and then break up and like it was just bad.
Yeah, it was really bad to the point that like people that knew us didn't even want us to be together anymore because it was to the point where it's like, why are you guys gonna be together if all you do is just like argue and all you do is just break up, you get back together, and then you break up again, and this and that. So it wasn't healthy at all.
I was like for 2 years.
Yeah, for like 2 years, and our family was seeing this through the whole time, through the whole process. So, I mean, her side of the family was like, like seeing everything. We literally broke up like over 100 times.
Yeah, like we were literally breaking up every single day,
all the time.
So then after that, we took like a break. I feel like for 6 months. We weren't together, but we were just still talking, but kind of like knowing that we were going to get back together just because it just wasn't working out. He was doing his own thing. I was doing my own thing. I feel like that's the time where we kind of, you were going out to clubs. I was going out to the clubs with all my friends. And like we were just having fun, like just being single and enjoying our time, which I feel like it sucked at the moment that we were going through that because it's just like we weren't, I don't know, like when we were together it was constantly fighting, but when we were not together it was like we missed each other, but we knew it wasn't healthy to be together, so we were going through it. It was like it sucked, but it also was good, I feel like, because we got it out of our system. Like we were able to party, we were able to do what we wanted to do, as single people would. And then after 6 months, we ended up he would call me.
Yeah, this one time I got drunk at like a quinceañera.
Oh yeah, I remember that day.
And it was like cumbias, right? They were playing cumbias. So Anita loves to dance cumbias. Like that's her thing. So when these songs came out, like I don't know, just like reminded me so much of her that I just called her and I told her, I was like, like I was drunk, and I was like, oh, like you should come over, like it's your music, your song, like we should dance, da da da. And then after that day, I think that's when we kind of reconnected in a way. At the time, I was living in my own apartment, so I think maybe like a week later, you came by. She came by, and we just started talking again, and we sort of pretty much reconnected, what we had. Because I mean, I think regardless of like everything that we've fought and argued, we kind of always known that we wanted to be together, like I think aside from all the issues and all the little drama, from that point on we realized that we really wanted to be together, but there was a lot of changes that needed to happen in order for us to be together and
to make it work.
And during that 6 month period, that's when we realized that it's like we kind of, like you said, we kind of did our own thing. We kind of got it out of our system, and then we just started taking our relationship a little bit more serious. With communication, I pretty much come to the realization that regardless if she gets mad at me, it's my responsibility to be conscious as to how I'm feeling and be in control under the situation so that I can tell her like, hey, you know what, like my goal is not to make you upset. Just know that I'm just trying to express to you how I feel and how things really are. Like I'm not trying to, you know, to make you mad. I just want you to understand how I'm feeling. And I mean, even through those conversations, like you would still get really mad. You know, she would still really get mad, and she would just like mentally check out. We've gotten better over time, and it's just been that has been the core of our relationship. You know, the reason why we continue to understand each other and grow because we're able to kind of just conversate and talk about how it is that we're feeling. After that third year, we really started maturing in a way. We started doing things together.
Like we started respecting each other a lot more. And I feel like that was the time where we were like, okay, like this is it. You know, I feel like we were at a really good point in our relationship. And then that's when we got married.
And I think that was the turning point for me where, I was like, I have to become a better person. And I think from there, that's when I kind of started venturing out into like small little businesses, like the clothing thing, and then, the cars.
We would buy, was it like junked, like
no,
salvaged cars,
yeah,
right?
so it was salvage cars.
That we would
get them. I ended up connecting with this guy in TJ who had a license to like bid on auction cars, like insurance, and our first car was like $1,000 like Audi.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we would fix it and then resell it.
And I think even during that time, that's when we started hitting the gym, right?
No, the gym was after a while. I feel like once we hit the gym together, I feel like that really brought us together because we were doing something that we both enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was more of like a mental thing. You know, I feel like it really helped both of us, like be in a really good mental state. And then not just that, but seeing our body transform and all of that made us more attractive to each other, right?
We started initially doing that just like as an initial way to bond, and it just really became, like we started. I think that's when we really started understanding that
improving yourself.
Yeah, like the secret, if you want to call it, aside from like communication, is that when you are in a relationship, you should always still strive to progress. Because you being married or you being in a long-term relationship doesn't mean that
you have to let
like
go of yourself.
Yeah, like okay, like well, I'm married to her, so she's gonna like love me with all my bads and all my things that I do wrong. It's not about that. It's about still improving yourself like
mentally and physically.
Yeah, exactly. And once we decided to continue doing that, I think during that time, that's when I started like my career per se, right? Like right after that?
No.
Yeah.
No, you were working.
Oh yeah, it took me like another year. I was working at Twigs still, right? Yeah, I was still working at Twigs. I just really fell in love with fitness. I just really went all in, and during that time, that's when we got pregnant with Mila. So when we got pregnant with Mila, so she stopped going to the gym. But she was still going to school. You were still going to school.
Yeah, so I enrolled into cosmetology school, and then I got pregnant like 3 months after.
Yeah.
Or 2 months after I enrolled. So I was going to school, and I was pregnant with Mila, and right after I would go to work, which was like from 5 to 11. And then school like was Monday through Friday from like 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. I had to be at work by 5.
Yeah.
So it was.
And then homework.
And then homework. So I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And then just being pregnant was like, oh my god. But yeah, we managed through.
Yeah, I mean during that time, I think I was just working at Kelly's still, huh? Yeah, I was still working at Kelly's, and I don't know, like I think during that moment, I really wanted to become somebody better. I that's when I really started getting into real estate. You know, I actually read this one book by Manny Koshpin, and he pretty much tells his story, his success story, of how he became a multimillionaire through real estate. You know, it just really piqued my interest. So, I mean, just randomly this one day, uh, this guy posted something on Facebook, and you know, he was like, you know, like, I'm willing to help, and I wanted to get into real estate investing or even just wholesaling. So I kind of uh, started talking to him. He kind of started mentoring me. He put me in touch with somebody here in San Diego, and that's kind of how I started, you know, this whole real estate journey per se, right? You know, from there, I mean, I was working in the morning, so I had to be there by 6 a.m. I was still, you know, I started prepping for a competition, so I was eating my, you know, 5, 6 meals a day. Um,
I gotta add something to that when you were going through that transition. So when he was going through that, I had just given birth with Mila, so it was a lot because I mean obviously my life completely changed from being super busy and just dependent, independent and just doing me. So then when Mila was born, I stopped working. I was just with her, and he was at the time. That's when he was like prepping. He was working. Like I honestly didn't see you. It was like probably he would wake up at like 4 in the morning, go to the gym, come back, shower, go to work, and then he would come back at 3, and then he would take like a quick nap, and then he would wake up, go to the gym, come back, study, because you were
prepping for my real estate
your real
license.
estate license, and then cook, and then shower and go
Study.
study, and then you would go to bed by like 1 in the morning. So honestly, it was like sleeping like 3 hours a day,
Yeah.
and it was like constant. It was like
7
that for
days a week.
yeah, and so we didn't have time for each other. He was in a position where he was surrounded with people that were doing what you wanted to do, I guess.
I mean, people whose perspective was completely different than the world that we used to know.
That we used to live in, yeah. So I feel like at that moment in our lives, we had differences because he
We had a
felt
separation.
Yeah, we were at the point where we were gonna get divorced because he was outgrowing me. I was just at home with the baby. I wasn't around people. I wasn't doing anything for myself basically. So for him, I feel like he's always been attracted to me because I've always been very independent. Ever since I was 14, I've been working. So for me to just be at home with Mila and doing nothing with my life kind of made that was like a big separation for us, right?
Yeah. And like, because my whole thing, like, once I started being exposed to this completely different world, I was like very driven. I was very motivational, inspirational. But to her, like, she didn't have anything to apply it to. So it's like, imagine like you're always like out and about. You're always doing something, and then for whatever reason, you can't do that anymore, and it's not under your control. Where you can just say like, "Oh, I'm still gonna do it." Like, Mila was just born. You were still recovering, like, so she pretty much had to put her life on hold so that I can continue to do what I wanted to do, and that pretty much created a lot of conflict between us because I was I was growing and progressing in myself, and she was just staying stagnant, and I was trying to pull her up with me, but she just wasn't receptive because, I mean, her world during that time was completely different than mine's, and it was, instead of it being like, let's level up together, it was a conflict because I couldn't connect with her and I couldn't understand her because
Right.
in my mindset I'm like, well, like, I'm doing this for all of us, like, we're growing, like, like, I'm learning this, like, let me bring it back to you so that you understand it, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah, and I feel like for me it was like why aren't you spending time with me and Mila, and I mean, if you're a mom, you know that after giving birth you're going through so many emotions, your hormones aren't still balanced and stuff. So
And you had postpartum depression.
I had postpartum depression, so all of that was like just like
accumulation.
Yeah, it was an accumulation of everything that I felt like. I honestly felt like you were changing, like he wasn't the same person that I had fallen in love with. Like he was really growing and he was doing things differently, and so that was like a huge disconnect from us, to the point where we were arguing all the time. And then we were like, you know what, like I think we should just probably divorce, because you weren't even sleeping in the bed, you were like sleeping on the floor, remember?
Yeah.
Like
or Mila's,
on Mila's
chair.
rocking chair, yeah, because at the time we were living at my mom's house.
Yeah.
So, and then you ended up just going to your mom's, which
Yeah.
it was really bad. But then that's when somebody introduced us to the Rock Church, remember?
Yeah, during that time, I think that was the biggest, like literally at the point where we were literally like already gonna part ways. We got introduced to the Rock, and at first she was like, I don't want to go. Like, how is this gonna help us?
Yeah.
I mean, we were even in talks of like going into like marriage counseling and this and that. We ended up going together, and it just felt like home. It felt like home. It felt like everything that they were saying was just like connecting with what we were going through. We pretty much, went to the front. We gave our life to Christ, and that's really when our relationship really started kind of coming back together, because now
I feel like we put God in the center, so we kind of had, we were working our problems around him. We had something that we needed to work around, which I feel like that honestly, that saved our marriage. If it weren't for that, I think we wouldn't be together here right now.
Connecting with God was like realizing that he was our core, he was our foundation, and just everything revolved around him. Like our actions, our thoughts, our way of like speaking to one another, the way of respecting one another, the way of being understanding towards one another was really our core in our relationship moving forward from that. And I think one important part that we're missing is that Mila had to go through emergency surgery. Her large intestine was consuming her small intestine, and we had to take her to the ER. And that's really when I realized personally, like as a man, that like I really can't always protect my family. Like, I couldn't be there for her. Like I couldn't take the pain away. Like I couldn't, just, like comfort her. It was like all in God's hand. And, I promised God that the moment that if my daughter came out well from it, that I would commit my life to him. And I mean, literally after Mila had her surgery, like the doctor was telling us, like it's gonna be about 3 to 4 days before she's active, before she wants to eat anything, and this and that. And literally within 24 hours, I mean, she was like up and down, like she was already moving. She wanted to be held by us. She was eating. She recovered really, really quick, to the point where, I mean, we were the ones scared, because like she was like all these like IVs on her, and she was like moving around and moving, and keep in mind her surgery was in her stomach, so we were trying to like have her not move. Yeah, that's when we really just united as a family. I think it took that to happen to make us realize how much we really do love each other. How much we really do want to be together, and just pretty much everything. Like from that moment on, we put him in the center of everything, and everything just started aligning. Like, everything. Our relationship, your business, like, my
I feel like we laid all our faith on him, that everything just fell into place without us even stressing about it. It was just like, you know what, like we've seen you work, we've seen you provide, like we just give you all our faith, and he's definitely given back. Like he's delivered for sure. So I feel like me and him are always like that. We know something isn't working, but we're just like, you know what, like let's just trust God. He's got us, like he's gonna deliver, and he always has.
Yeah.
So I feel like our faith has definitely helped our relationship, our family, and just like in everything, not just in our relationship, but our relationship with our friends, our family, with everyone that we come across,
Yeah. It really gave us a completely different perspective as to like, I think even contributing back to our own family, like being able to communicate, like, to our immediate family, like, it's not good to gossip, it's not good to talk about others, it's not good to talk about that, and not coming from a place of like telling them what to do. It was more of like us leading by example, like letting go of these like patterns and habits that made us kind of toxic in a way. And the moment that we started detaching from that, that's when we really started seeing our growth, and just our relationship, like we started becoming the people that we wanted to become. We started believing more in ourselves. We started, we stopped being held back by culture and traditions, and more as like what our heart felt and what we wanted to do. And the moment that we started doing that, we just started loving each other a lot more, because it wasn't I need her to love me for me to be happy, or me to love her for her to be happy. It's like we all just became like our own individuals, and we started growing in our own unique ways. It wasn't that we were growing apart, it's just we were growing in completely different ways. From that point on, like, I hired on by the company, and that really just shifted everything in me. It really shifted my mindset, what was possible for us as a family. We ended up just pretty much renting our own apartment. We were struggling because her business had just started, so I only had my W-2s, and all these like property management companies were like, well, we need both of you, we can't just be one. Like, it was super super hard. And I mean, even during that time, like, we were barely like making enough money just to pay the bills. But I mean, again, like, placing all our faith in God, not knowing how we were gonna make it happen, we took that leap of faith, and we ended up finding this apartment where we live now.
The reason why we don't have like problems with each other is because we trust each other more than anything. Like, he's never done anything for me to doubt him, for me to not to trust him. I feel like we both respect each other so much. Like, when honestly, there's times where I don't talk to him all day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't come home sometimes till like 9 o'clock, and he doesn't come home till like 9 sometimes, 10 sometimes. So, and it's not like I'm constantly like texting him like, where are you? Where are you at? Who are you with? Like, why didn't you tell me you were here, or anything like that? Like, we both wake up in the morning, and it's like there's times he doesn't even know where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's how much we trust each other. Like, he can be out and about, and then we just come home, and I'll be like, hey, where are you? And then he's like, oh, I'm coming home. And when we see each other, basically by like 9, right?
Yeah.
We don't see each other till like 9 at night.
Yeah. And it isn't that we don't, like, I mean, my biggest thing is like, as long as I ask her and I'm like, hey, are you okay? And then she says yes, like, cool. Like, I can go on about my day. We've gotten to the point where, like, I don't ever have to like be afraid of like her cheating on me. Like, I don't have like that fear in my head that, man, like, what about if she's like, with another guy, or she's, out doing these things. Like, we've come to the point where we both know what we have. Like,
Exactly.
I know that I'm never gonna find anybody else like her, like, in our relationship that we have, regardless of like the little things that we do to annoy one another. Like,
obviously, because we're not perfect.
Yeah,
no relationship is perfect, but I feel like as long as your partner treats you right, he loves you, and does everything for you and your family, like, to me, that's something that I love from him, and that's what keeps me in love, that he's always doing everything for me and Mila. So I feel like that's what keeps me in love with him.
Yeah. I think, like, me losing my family at a young age, like my brother passing away, and then my parents pretty much separating, and just everything that I've gone through, like, it really taught me like what a family, like, I've always wanted this, like, not even keeping like the business in the picture, like, just having a family to me means everything, because
and to me,
I lost it at a young age, so I cherish that more than like
yeah, we
anything.
both grew up without our parents doing things together. I remember seeing movies where families would do things together, like for Christmas, or they would go and, you know, go on vacations with their parents. And I always wish I would have experienced that, you know, and neither did you experience that.
Yeah.
So now that we have our own little family, we're like, you know what, like, we want to be that, you know, we want to be what we always dreamed of.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we want obviously times for ourselves, and I think, you know, even at that, we don't have enough of that. But at the same time, since we are both, you know, in agreement that, you know, we didn't have that family relationship, to anything that we do, we always make sure that we bring Mila. You know, like regardless if it's like
Dinner.
hanging out with some friends, going out to dinner, going to go watch a movie, whatever. Like we always
bring
include her, you know, because we never had that with our parents. We never had that relationship with our parents. So now that we're parents and we are able to do that, we make sure that we take the time and we consider our daughter and everything that we do. And I think because of that, like our daughter is like really, really aware. Like she's very mature for her age. Like she says things that sometimes just completely
blows your
surprise
mind.
us, and I'm like, how is this even possible? You know?
Yeah.
But you know, I think
it has to do with our parenting.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with our parenting and obviously our background. Because if we would have never experienced that, then we would have never been able to give, you know, the life or the love and the time that we give our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Gotten this far with trust, so why even, you know, like break that? You know, I think it's a big reason why we continue to love one another, and like I don't ever have to be checking up on her or like being fearful of like her, you know, like doing the wrong thing, because I've been loyal to her, you know. So I know what I have at home, and she knows what she has with me, and we've pretty much gotten to the point where, you know, like
I think we put we put ourselves first.
Yeah.
More than anything, you know, I feel like you really have to learn how to love yourself in order for you to make your relationship work.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, I think the reason why we continue to love one another is because we don't stop growing. You know, like just because we've been together for almost 11 years now doesn't mean that, you know,
I'm gonna
like,
be all for longa.
Yeah, you know, like, or whatever. Same thing with me. You know, like I like
let go of yourself.
I like progressing. Like I love progression. You know, like regardless if it's like in business and health and fitness and whatever the case may be. Like I like making progress because I'm always learning something new, and because I always learn something new, I'm able to now create a different conversation with my partner, and we both grow together. You know, I think what we see in a lot of like relationships is that it becomes very traditional. Like, oh, like you're the wife, so you gotta stay at home, you gotta take care of the kids. Like you don't have a career, you don't have this. Like you just make sure that I have food at the end of the day once I get home. And the guy is like, oh well, I'm the provider, or I'm this, or the guy kind of feels entitled to him working more and the woman is less, but that's not the case, you know. Like we're
for
both
us
equal.
like we both do everything equal, like everything, like literally everything. You know, we both do chores at home, we both provide, we both feel like we
wash dishes.
Like we don't I'm not always like, oh well, you know, even we go wash and it's like he puts his clothes away, I put my clothes away, you know. It's like that. Like I don't do everything for him, he doesn't do everything for me. And it's shocking to a lot of relationships or people that I talk to, and I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, yeah, like I'll cook for him here and there, you know, but it's not like I have to. It's not expected, you know. It's just like it's not like our relationship. I feel like we both
kind of broke that mold, you know, for our culture.
We're partners, you know. He's not my slave, I'm not his slave, you know. We're just partners. We both do what we want to do, you know. If I have a goal and I have a dream, like he helps me, you know, he puts in the work to help me do that. And the same with him, like he wants to do that and I help him out with that, you know. And I feel like we both really push and we push each other, you know. We're like, okay, you want to do that, like do it, you know, and I'll support you.
We both want something, you know what I mean? Like
we both strive for the same thing. Like, you know, we know what we want, where we want to be, so we both have a goal and we're on it, you know. And I feel like me and him are the exact same in the way of like when we want something, we set our mind to it and we do it. You know, we're very driven. So I feel like in that way we connect in our relationship. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because if it's constant progression, kind of going back to that, like if you and your partner don't have something to where you're both growing independently or together, then that kind of creates a separation, because now, one or the other kind of feels entitled to what you both have, and that shouldn't be the case because you're a family, you're a team. You should be working together. Like that's the whole goal of you becoming one. Like it's not I'm doing this for us, so you're like you better do this for us. Like it's not about that. Like it's about creating that like perfect middle ground to where you're both going in the same direction, and regardless of what happens, you're both gonna write it out together. I think I'm very hard on myself. Like, in my world, in my field, like it's expected of me to grind my face off. It's expected at me to be up at 2, 3 in the morning, just working. It's expected to me to have all these like, habits and be like this like, just this like workhorse, And I think I've played that role, and I learned that it's not that it's not what I want, because I'm passionate about what I do and I always give it my everything. But at the same time, like I know that my core purpose as to why it is that I work so hard and why it is that I do what I do is because of her and Mila. And the moment that I start taking time away from them and our relationship kind of feels like it's becoming distant, I'm like, okay, snap out of this. This is going to be okay. Now just, give them their time. Like spend time with them. Like, come from work a little bit early and, go and have that dinner, or go and watch a movie, or go and, just chill on the couch and, watch a show that we all like to watch together. And it's pretty much being aware that it isn't what people expect of you, it's what your life is like. The moment that you know what your life should be like and what you want out of life, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, and it doesn't matter what other expectations people have of you, aside from, like the stuff that you kind of have to do. But if why I work so hard and why I put myself under a lot of pressure and stress is because I want them to have a better life, then I can't be consumed by this. I always have to make sure that I always revert back to them. And I think with her, she knows that to me, like I'll work, she'll give me my space, she won't nag me. But the moment where she's like, hey, like, you gotta take a step back, like you gotta realize that Mila wants to see you. You gotta realize that I want to spend time with you, and she just brings me back to the ground. Like we both kind of we understand that now. Like we have that connection now to where
we speak
she
what
brings
we
me.
want.
Yeah.
Before we would react, and we wouldn't say things. We would act like I would be nagging at him before. I was like, because I had this grudge inside me, because I'm like, dang, he's not spending time with me, like he's not spending time with Mila. So all of that was inside of me. So every little thing that he would do like would trigger me, and I was like picking at him, as opposed to now I'm like, okay, you know what, I gotta say what I'm feeling. So I'm like, hey, you know what, I feel like you're not spending time with us, like you need to spend more time with us. So he's like, okay, cool, like I'll make some time for you guys.
Yeah.
So I feel like we always have, our relationship hasn't been perfect, but I feel like every single time we've been together for 11 years, so we've gone through every situation that we learn from it. We're like, okay, we gotta, if this is how I'm feeling, I need to tell him. And then I feel like we both really try to do what we can to make it work. Like if something is bothering him that I'm doing, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while,
it's a
but
process.
It is a process. And as long as you're doing it, like it gets better with time, and as the more you practice it, the more you do it, it becomes more natural. And it's like, oh wow, like you look back and you're like, dang, like I've changed, or I'm improving. So we did a post. I did a post on my Instagram asking you guys what you would like to know about our relationship. Some of you guys said all of it,
which is pretty much what we did.
We did. Then Maritza, shout out to Maritza. We went to beauty school together, well, cosmetology, And she asked, how do you guys manage it all with work and still make time for each other and Mila?
And going back to what I said earlier, like for me, it's very easy to get caught up in like the entrepreneurship, the grind, the hustle and all that. But like I said, if the whole reason why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing is because of my family, like I always have to be aware that my actions affect them too. So I know that if I'm really busy a certain week, okay, like I'll grind it out for 6 days, but then on the seventh day, like I'll make sure that I have that day just clear just to spend time with them. Even if we're not doing anything, even if we're just gonna be chilling at home or,
We
going
still
out with the
spend that time
family, like
together.
we're just together.
And I think we've made it a habit as well. Like, we both do what we got to do throughout the day so that at nighttime we don't get home till like 8, 9, and we go to sleep pretty late.
Yeah.
We go to sleep sometimes till like 1 a.m., but we're with each other, we're spending time together as a family. And that's our me and you time, kind of,
Yeah.
And then Saturdays and Sundays is really when we really bond, when we do more things together.
Yeah.
As far as for me with like spending time with Mila, he's the one that works the most. So with my career, I'm able to work around it, around Mila's schedule. So for that, like, I'm super blessed because I'm able to spend so much time with Mila, and I try to do everything that I gotta do. So if I work, it's usually like in the mornings, and then afternoons I'm with her.
It's a work in progress. I mean, there's definitely days that
We really can't be together.
Yeah, we really can't be together for
There's
a week.
times where like you miss out on events, like family
Yeah.
events that we have, but we understand each other. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. He's working. It's like he's doing something bad.
I'm
or
not hanging out with my
anything.
friends.
Yeah,
or something
exactly.
like that. Yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Hey, she made it to the channel.
She said all of it, an episode of each thing you just mentioned. Laugh out loud. I feel like we kind of did. We like talked for like 40 minutes.
I mean, there's obviously things that like we can go on and on with like specific details, but I mean, we pretty much brushed upon like an overview of 10 years compressed into, I mean, however
minutes,
long this is going to be. But I mean, the biggest thing is that, communication, like being understanding of one another, respecting one another.
Loving yourself first.
Yeah, I think, I don't need her to I mean, I guess I kind of do in a way, right? Like,
no, but you really have to love yourself.
Yeah, like I do what I want to do because I do it out of passion, and it's because it's something in my heart, and she supports me, and vice versa, right? Like whenever it is that she wants to do something, like I don't discourage her from doing it. If it's in her, then it's her calling per se to
we don't do it
make
to
it
please
happen.
each other.
Yeah.
We do it to please ourselves.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what I do, it's like it's very like you wouldn't understand it if you weren't in my shoes, like because it's a lot of hours, a lot of time, but she never like tells me like, what, like I don't want you to work this many hours, or I don't want you to do this. Like she's just very supportive of what I do, and she's understanding, and I think also too because like when I've been able to pretty much commit to doing what I said I was gonna do, like consistently, so she trusts me now. She's like, okay, like I know that at the beginning it's gonna be you're gonna invest a lot of time, but as you get it done, now there's this like trust factor of like, okay, like it's consistent. Like he'll make it happen. Like whatever it is that I tell her, or I promise her, I make it happen, and vice versa.
Social media guy said, how did you deal with me?
Be honest.
I'm still dealing with him, you guys. I'm ready to take him. I'm just kidding.
I love you.
Well, you're easy to deal with, honestly. He's very patient. He's, like, super easy. Like, sometimes I'm like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? Like, he doesn't get mad easily. Like, I try to push his buttons, and it takes a while to push his buttons. I think the question is, how did you deal with me? Because I'm a handful. Now that I get a little taste of my own medicine with Mila, like, there's days, you guys, where I can't stand her. Like, and that's because she's exactly like me.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's funny
he
because
always tells me, you're always like, every time I tell you, like, with her, you're like, Well, I can deal with both of you. I mean, I've dealt with you for like
Yeah.
so long, so dealing with her is like
Yeah,
nothing.
dealing
And
with
I'm
me,
like,
that's super easy. You know?
yeah, I've made it super easy because he's like, oh, I already know you're just like your mom.
Yeah, I mean,
But me and her, when she's having her little moments, and she is exactly like me. So like if you have your daughter or your kid and it's exactly like you know what I'm talking about. But man, she pushes my buttons. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's been easy to deal with, honestly. There's just little things where it pisses me off, but he's been easy to deal with.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I can't even handle myself. I can't stand myself, and I don't know how he stands me, but maybe just because he's super patient, he's super relaxed, super chill.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
we
that's
balance
what it
each other
is.
out.
Yeah, we
you know
really,
what I mean?
we're complete opposites, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very like, I like to say I'm very reserved. You know, like I like being in control of myself and my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Although I am an emotional person, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like for me, my love language is like being expressive towards
Which
her.
is funny because usually the girl is the one that's super expressive. Like, I'm not used to writing like big letters or expressing how I feel, and he's always like, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy, you know. But I love that about him because that's just who he is, and that's who I fell in love with. I got lucky. I got a lucky one.
You
But
did.
anyways, let's talk about our future plans. What are our plans?
You know, I think immediate ones.
It's a
Obviously.
baby. There, we said it.
Yeah,
We want another
yeah, we definitely
baby.
want another baby. You know, I
We
think.
said we didn't after. So after Mila was born and she had all her incident, we were traumatized for sure. It's having a baby's life changing. It is a lot of work.
Responsibility.
Exactly. Like you have to.
You know, but then I think also too because like I think Mila is as close as perfect as you can get
Like
as having a child.
yes.
That
Everybody tells us that. Like she's so perfect. Like honestly, the only thing I think what's hold us back all these years has been the fear that we had of another one, and it's not gonna be like her.
Yeah.
Because she's so good. Like we could be at the movies. We've had dinners for like 3 hours, and she sits in the table with us. She does not cry. She does. I don't think she really thrown tantrums.
No, I mean
Maybe
other than
from
when
her
she's
4 years, she's probably had like 2.
Yeah.
Like to be honest, like
Yeah,
she's
like she
such
doesn't
a good
just-
baby. She's so mature. She's really she's a like
Yeah.
if they were to tell me you're gonna have another baby that's exactly like Mila, I get pregnant tomorrow.
Done.
Yes, done
Yeah.
deal.
You know, I think she's very like. She's definitely a mixture of the both of us. You know, like you can definitely see that.
Yeah, she's very patient. She's very chill like him. But man, when she's pissed off, when she's annoyed, she's exactly like me.
You know, but I think it all kind of goes back to her parenting too. You know, because we've included her in
Everything
moments.
that we do.
Yeah, in moments that regular parents would just be like, no, like I don't want her to be like, she can just chill at home with la abuelita, or you know, we can just drop her off, you know, with your mom. Like we always make sure, like.
And not that it's wrong, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like every parent has their own, you know, their own
Their
way
why.
of parenting. Yeah, and I mean it's totally fine. Like
Yeah.
if she was probably like crazy and crying all the time, I probably wouldn't take her. To be honest, you know, I'd
Yeah.
probably be like, oh my gosh, no. I mean, there's times where we go out, just him and I, but in everything I feel like when we experience something new and we bring her along, it just makes it so much more meaningful. And it's like all 3 of us get to experience that. It makes it so much nicer, and it's like we can look back and we're like, oh my god, I remember when we went here and when we went there, and like she talks to us, she's like, oh yeah, and remember when this happened, and
We're
you
close
know,
to the beach.
Mhm.
Or, like little things, like little details.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Mila has definitely experienced a lot
lot
more
of-
things than we've
And
had in
yeah.
our 27 years. You know, as a child, like,
yeah.
you know, nice dinners, like, you know, VIP tickets to Frozen on Ice, and just little
stuff
things
like
like that. And it isn't about the money. It's about the experience that she's been able to have. Like one of the challenges that we had growing up was that our perspective was very limited to what we knew. With Mila, the way that we're trying to parent her and the way that we're taking our approach is like we don't want her to have these like little fears that we grew up with as a culture or as a family. Like we don't ever like try to scare her with like, oh, el cucuy, or like, like don't do this. Yeah, like don't do this because this is gonna happen to you, or like that. Like we let her try, we let her do her thing, and I mean we're just there to kind of just watch over her, but we give her the liberty of, making her own decisions. Like, to things as little as like dressing herself. Like
she dresses herself.
Like now she's gotten to the point where she knows.
She picks her own clothes, she gets dressed, she brushes her own teeth, she like washes her face. The only thing I do is just do her hair. Like honestly, when we're getting ready, I'm like, Mila, we're going here. She's like, okay, like what am I supposed to wear? Like, are we going to a party? So that means I get to wear a dress.
Yeah.
And then she's like, or am I going to go play with my friends? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to go play with your friends. So she's like, okay, I'll wear jeans and my sneakers and, a t-shirt. And honestly, like, I don't even have to worry about dressing her. Like, she knows how to dress herself. Like, she's so smart.
And she loves it, too. Like, she loves the freedom.
Express herself. Yeah, she's like, I want to wear this with this, with this, with this.
Yeah,
like,
she loves the freedom that we give her and the liberty, like, she's always she always pretty much likes to impress herself. As much as she likes to impress us, she likes to demonstrate to herself that she can do certain things, like a big girl, like she'll learn how to snap fingers, and she'll commit to it until she actually gets it done.
She was actually learning. She wanted to learn how to snap her fingers, and for like 2 weeks she was like constantly practicing until she got it done.
And then even something as what's simple to us, which is like taking your shirt off or like changing yourself, like that's something that she wanted to learn how to do on her own, and
she did it.
She
she knows how to put on her shoes and her clothes the right way. Like she knows that it's like the etiquette that's supposed to go on the bag. So she's really smart. Yeah. So yes, we want another baby. She has baby fever.
Yeah,
she's always like, I want a baby sister, a little baby brother. So
our answer to that kind of ties into the next thing, which is our next goal, or her goal, but obviously it's ours, is we plan on having another baby like once she finalizes her license. So what kind of license are we talking about?
My personalized insurance license. So I only have 12 hours left.
Shout out to her Nan and James for
yes, thank you guys. I'm super excited.
Why insurance? Or how did that come about?
One day we were actually watching Netflix, right?
Yeah, Netflix.
And there's a show called Rica Famosa Latina, and then there's this lady who I'm pretty sure you guys all know about or heard of her, Adriana's Insurance. So she came out and
amongst like other super popular.
Yeah,
like,
so it's
Latino
like a bunch of women,
like
that
Jenny
are
Rivera's sister.
La Chiqui, not Chiquis.
Who else?
Rosie, Estela, like a bunch of just wealthy women.
Latin women.
Yeah. And she came out, Adriana's Insurance, and I just loved everything about her lifestyle, the way who she is, and all that. And she obviously sells insurance, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm good at upselling. I'm good, I just kind of like really connected with that, like with that career path. And I was like, oh my God, like, what do you, I told her, I was like, what do you think if I go into insurance? So.
And I think, the reason why we both thought it was a great idea was because I feel that just how I envisioned, what real estate would be. Same thing with insurance. I think everything is transferring over a lot to social media and video and things like that it's still a very untapped market, or at least an untapped transition. And I mean, there's insurance agents that are just crushing it, you know what I mean? They're doing the business. But just like real estate, right? There's people doing the business, but not a lot of them focus on building this like online resume of like the people that they've actually been able to help. So our whole concept is pretty much kind of marrying our two businesses together with what I do, which is social media marketing and video marketing, and pretty much align that with what she's doing to pretty much create this like a completely different breed of like insurance agents, and I think the transition is kind of happening now, but I think we are in the perfect place and the perfect timing again to really blow it out of the park. So we're pretty stoked about that, and it's something that we're gonna be doing as a team and together. So
It's just gonna make us stronger.
Yeah, make a relationship stronger.
So we're pretty excited, and I feel like after that, once our career is established, our next step is
buy a house.
Yes, Mila wants a big house with a pool and flowers and a big yard.
Yeah.
She's our motivation for sure.
Yeah. I mean, even, we've had conversations too about how, it's either going to be we buy a house or we're going to buy some properties just to invest, and have as rentals. Because, I mean, the moment that we commit to a property, I mean, obviously it's an investment, regardless. But I think for us, it'll be a better stepping stone if we invest first and then we buy our dream house later. Because with rentals, we can pretty much cover our own mortgage payment for a property that we really want, even if it's even if it's more expensive. So, I mean, obviously I have the relationships to, get our loan and
do all of that
and be a real estate agent, and it's gonna be interesting. I have so many relationships with like really good people that I genuinely love and care for, and we're reciprocated in the same way. So that's gonna be interesting. But I mean, yeah, that's our goal. I mean, that's something that we've always dreamed about, even since we were like 17 or 18. We always talked about. So now, where we feel that we're in a position to, we're a little bit more closer to that. Now we just have to, get that going and get that situated so that we just achieve another one of our goals, which is being homeowners.
So that was it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed our video. I hope you guys got to know a little bit more about us, and I hope we inspired you guys.
And just, like, it's no relationship is perfect. There's always going to be, it's always a work in progress. But as long as you're both willing to meet in the middle and never focus on who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
Just, coming to an agreement together where it's not, she's attacking me or I'm attacking her. It's creating that space and being capable of understanding that it's about communication more than it is trying to get a point across.
Yeah.
If you shift that from understanding how she feels, because
we were already
she is your partner. It's frustrating me right now.
Why? I'm tired. I'm just going out and about. We just talked all about that right now, babe. This is what an 11-year relationship looks like. This is literally us. But I want to go meet. I'm so tired. I gotta wake up super early tomorrow.
By the way, she's a spoiled brat.
You've made me spoiled. Tú tienes la culpa. Baby, tienes canas.
You tanto que me hace enojar.
You want to talk about
this
that?
This is a result of 11 years.
Yeah, you want to see mine? I'll show you mine.
That's because you get angry, not because I make you angry.
See, that's exactly what it is. I don't make him angry. He's in control of his emotions.
Yeah, she doesn't make me angry anymore. I mean, it's gotten to the point to where when she does something that should make me angry, I just laugh about it and she gets mad.
No way.
Like, her goal is literally to get me mad, and
no,
I don't get mad, so she gets mad.
I don't like getting you mad. It's not fun when you're mad.
Why is that?
Because you never get mad, and when you do get mad, you get mad. He won't talk to me for a whole day. I get sent to the friend zone.
Alright, guys, so we're gonna wrap this up. Yeah, I mean, it pretty much comes back down to communication, finding a way to meet in the middle. It's not
Love
about
each other, respect each other.
Yeah, it's not about she's right or I'm wrong. It's about, finding the perfect middle ground for the both of us to be understanding of each other's, feelings and emotions. And I mean, that's pretty much it, and obviously having God in the middle, there's no words that would ever be able to describe how much God, like having God in the center of our family and our relationship has
helped.
Just solidified our relationship and, like our family together. Like having that has been probably the biggest, well, not probably, is the biggest reason why we continue to, be together and continue to love one another and being understanding, is because of having that faith and, keeping him in the middle. That's everything, and that's pretty much it. So peace out.
Oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share.
And subscribe.
I already said that.
Subscribe again.